building.
Well, there's, I guess what it
That's
might,
the two, Steve Snyder and Kenny Gressman's building up
That
there.
one.
that must be a thought in this process, because if it wasn't, he wouldn't put it in here. So I think that's why we gotta address that, that it will eventually happen. That's-
Yes, yeah. And, we have,
Whether it's today or 10 years from now.
But we want to think far enough ahead we don't get left behind.
okay,
I got a little question about financing here. 3.5%, is that, how did we come up with that figure?
that is what we borrowed our last money at. That's how we came up with the figure.
Is that a special rate for the city, or could any individual go in there and,
Oh,
for a
that's
project like this, to a bank? Here's my concern about this is that, I'm not against the project, I'm just asking questions here now. We're gonna borrow money at 3.5%. And the longevity, the 10-year thing's kind of got me up, because right now it seems like a pretty good rate for the city, you know, the banks aren't doing that. My concern is after 5 or 6 years, what if rates higher than that, or whatever, you know, we could get, we're using city money to borrow out. Basically, we're becoming a bank. We're competition to the banks, as far as I'm concerned. And now, all at once, that money we lend out to them, we're thinking we're getting a good deal at 3.5, or we could put it in a term for 5%, 6%. My question is there any way, and I want some thoughts on this, is there any way that you would think that after 5 years, we could take a look at a renegotiation, what is prime, where's prime at, or whatever? Does that make sense to anybody here? Or is that, I don't know, I just feel like we're making a commitment to 10 years now for something that's, yes, it's gonna help to clean up the lake, I understand that, that's probably why we're doing it, the biggest reason. But at what cost to the city? And that's just what I'm, you know, what is,
If we left it for 10 years, at least he'd know what his cost was every year.
I understand that.
And I'm not saying good or bad, I think that's why.
Well, I mean, like I said, this is still a draft. I just like to have guys think about something like that, and I don't know, does that seem?
It does seem like a long time, especially at that rate, but, I mean, that's what pencils us with him, right? And that's what,
Okay, well, I just,
well,
no, I mean, that doesn't mean it's the end all be all, it's just.
no, it sure isn't, but the other side of this, and this is really how I guess how I look at this, is really a step in development. You know, as far as, if we look at this as a kind of an economic development issue, you know, we would look at fostering these type of things. And you kind of got to look through those glasses in order to really kind of see it that way, because otherwise it just looks like a good deal. But
For him.
for him, yeah. But it's a good thing for the community
I mean,
too.
it's good overall,
I'm not-
but
no,
in the
I'm
interest of, you know, just being
I just want us to do
fiduciary
diligence,
responsibility.
due diligence on what kind of commitment we're gonna make to these guys for 10 years, and we could look,
And the other way you could look at that is, you know, potentially doing, you know, some kind of benefit for early payment, you know, to limit our exposure at less than 10 years. You know, as an option, and without messing with the rate, you know, there's some benefit to him to pay it off early. And then we don't have such a long exposure. I don't know what that would be exactly, but
The benefit, I don't know. One of the options for early payment, though, is if that sixth connection comes along, that comes back to the city first.
yeah, it comes to us first.
So, and that, all that really does is ends up reducing the term of the loan.
like I said, this isn't a deal breaker, I just wanted to put it up for food for thought, I guess. Go on, carry on. Sorry,
No, as you look down to the bottom, bottom paragraph, there's two highlighted paragraphs below where it says draft. The city City of Lakeview's connection fee. Okay, that we do have this connection fee of $12.50 per connection. And this just simply says that if additional connections come on to this lift station system where they keep paying the investors in the original system, at no point would they ever be repaid so much so that they would be repaid what the equivalent amount of this connection fee would be. That makes sense?
They can't make money off of it.
Can't make money off of it. Okay, number 8 talks about how we would charge, and owners shall be charged fees for sewer use consistent with the Code of Ordinances. Okay, so that's the case. Just 100% of water usage is the bill for sewer. Okay, this also says that they'd install an hour meter on the lift station, and that can be used to calculate flow. And the concept is if there's a lot of infiltration there, some additional infiltration that was that's being treated, then the owner or Van Meverns would end up paying an additional bill. Essentially, off of the hour meter, you can compute how much is actually pumped.
Have we ever done this before to anybody else?
No.
We didn't do this to Dixieland?
No.
So we're only doing this because those people don't agree with Jack?
It's a concern. You know, infiltration, I think, is a concern.
I mean, the question that brings me is, why are we singling them out, putting 2 meters on? They just want to be metered like everybody else. That's what.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is that we'll have an hour meter on it. They're standard deal. If we read the hour meter every month, we can compute that. It's just a question of whether you want to bill them like that or not. We'd be able to tell if there's infiltration coming in.
What's an hour meter cost?
I don't know, it's part of the standard control package.
So it comes on again.
Yeah.
And what rate would we charge them if we don't do this normally?
Compute the thousands of gallons, and it's just the regular rate per 1,000 of gallons pumped.
So there's no infiltration, they're not going to be charged anymore, but if there's a lot, then we're not stuck eating the electric and the extra
Right.
wear and tear on the phone.
That was the argument, and had been brought up that this would be an agreeable issue to Van Meverns, and they've really since kind of changed their mind on it. They don't want to be billed any differently than anybody else.
Can't they turn around then and bill their clients for the cost? And we won't know that.
Because all they brought up is they don't want anything
Yes,
different than
but,
anybody else got. Of course, we're already doing that.
This issue was also brought up by Jake, though, because he is kind of concerned about it. When you look at the top paragraph on 21, this is saying if additional customers come onto the system and things were good beforehand and this additional customer comes on and then there's problems, then you're kind of able to narrow it down that the problem comes from the additional customer coming on. Then this just says that the Van Meverns aren't liable for that additional cost. But especially a concern if everybody comes online at the same time, you can't tell anything. So if Jake were to come online at the same time and there's some infiltration problems, you wouldn't be able to determine a location of them.
So we couldn't prove it with Jake or the county.
No, but Jake's also certainly willing, if this thing goes online next spring, you wouldn't hook up till the next fall. I mean, you try to establish a baseline if that's what it need be. I don't know, throw that open and see if that's an issue for you or not.